it's not that different as in I've never heard anything like this before, but it was different because I've never heard anything like this as a suggestion that you've offered me before. So that did kind of, I was like, what in the world? Um, this man, what year was this, first of all?
Have a guess.
Oh God. 1984.
Wah, wah, oops. 1983, very close.
Oh man. I picked four because I didn't want to pick my birth year and be affiliated with this.
It's showtime, folks.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Into the Music. You know why we're here. We're here to discuss some songs. John, I hear you've got something for me, man. So I'm in the mood to listen to some music. What is it?
I've got something quite special for you. I cannot wait to see your reaction to this. I know that fills you full of dread every time I say that, but honestly, something a bit different. So the band is called Yazoo. Now, for
Yazoo.
legal reasons, in America, they were known as Yaz. Y-A-Z.
Interesting. Well, I don't know either Yazoo or the Yaz that we got here. But what's the name of the track?
Nobody's Diary.
Nobody's Diary. All right. Well, you're right. I am trepidatious about hearing this, given how you've built it. But I'll go off and give it a listen, and I'll return with my unbridled reaction to this song.
If I wait for just a second more, I know I'll forget what I came here for. My head was so full of things to say, but as I open my lips, all my words slip away. You can change the
like the melody a lot to this. It's for me personally, it's a little too. It's too. The music is too manufactured. Like there's not enough organic, real instrument action. Like some synth is great when there's like a real drummer and a real bass player, or sometimes synthetic sort of percussions are good when there's a real guitar going on and they're kind of blended and mixed well. This is just fully synth sound. And the guitar, I mean, that's awesome. And it's a great melody that's being played on that. And the vocal delivery is kind of dramatic, but effective and good. But this isn't hitting as hard with me as a lot of John's previous suggestions for me. And that's nothing to take away from necessarily this style of music, because I mean I'm sure that there are plenty of songs in this style of music that I do like, but this is kind of like I'm kind of lukewarm to this. Like it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not, to me it's not that captivating if I'm being honest.
That look in your eyes, I always recognize. Would tell me everything is gonna be fine. You're gonna be mine for a long time. For the time we've had, I don't want to be a page in your diary, babe. For the good, the bad, I don't want to see a page in your diary, babe. For the happy, the sad, I don't want to be another page in your diary. For the time we've had, I don't want to be a page in your diary, babe. For the good, the bad, I don't want to be a page in your diary, babe. For the happy, the sad, I don't want to be just another page in your history.
Yeah, that wasn't, again, a song. It wasn't a song that I disliked. It just it didn't thrill me that much, but it did have some good things going on, which I'm sure I'll discuss with John once I get back with him.
So, as Monty Python used to say, now for something completely different. What do you reckon?
That was something completely different.
Weren't expecting that from me, were you?
No, that's the thing about it, right? Like, it's not that different as in I've never heard anything like this before, but it was different because I've never heard anything like this as a suggestion that you've offered me before. So that did kind of, I was like, what in the world? This man, what year was this, first of all?
Have a guess.
Oh God. 1984.
Oops. 1983, very close.
Oh man. I picked 4 because I didn't want to pick my birth year and be affiliated with this. No. There were parts of this that were redeeming, and there are parts of this that kind of were like fell flat for me. And I think at the crux of it, it's that it was too synthesized. There wasn't a lot of organic music happening in this. The closest thing you got to that was a keytar, and a keytar in and of itself is kind of like a synthesized instrument. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
Yeah.
It is neither a piano nor is it a guitar. So
yeah, it was 100% synthesized. Everything you heard.
Every like down to the drum track and really the only thing that was organic was the female singer, who had a lovely, albeit a bit over dramatic or melodramatic kind of sound to it, which is of the time. So, you know, she gets a break for being clearly part of that genre. Like if you dug that kind of music, this fits the mold. But it was also, aside from it being a bit over, and when I say over, I mean completely synthesized. And her sort of flirting with melodramatic delivery, it was also kind of one note. They didn't really go stray from any divergent, they didn't go into any divergent places or take the song in a, there wasn't some bridge that caught me off guard or anything like that. It was very much, it was very linear, and there wasn't a lot of like changing going on. So that also like didn't really captivate me or catch me off guard or give me a big surprise or anything for having listened to it. Again, that's not to say that I hated the song. It's just, it's nowhere near some of the stuff that you've given me before, which again is a bit of a shock, because I was like, and this, not only does the synth and all that stuff not really fit into what you've given me before, but you've given me some real home runs in the past, and this was more of a head scratcher for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like offend anybody who likes this genre. This just isn't typically my cup of tea. But there are some songs from this kind of sound that I do like. So it's not like I can just like throw the baby out with the bathwater and say I don't like anything that came out of that kind of sound or that era. I did really enjoy the melody though, particularly with what the guitar was doing, creating some real melodic stuff that was happening, and that was enjoyable and kind of hooky in and of itself. But why don't you tell me what you were thinking when you gave me this song, or how it resonates with you, and maybe a little bit about this, what seemingly is just a tandem of musicians here, old Tufty and the female vocalist.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I pretty much disliked all synth pop from the 80s with a passion. The odd one, as you say, clicked through, and I didn't mind this at the time, but I didn't gravitate towards it in any way. And then fast forward sort of 20 odd years at least, 20 odd years, and I was working with someone who was a complete 80s nut. And he asked me to do a sort of a mixtape sort of thing for when he was training for a half marathon, and he wanted 45-minute slots of music running into each other, and he told me some of the tracks he'd like, and this was one of them, and I hadn't heard in ages. I listened to it again, and I just really enjoyed it. A bit of distance at the time probably helped. So I do like this song a lot. And it's a really interesting, and this couple and their story and history is really interesting as well. So I'll tell you a bit about them. Yazoo were formed in 1981, and they only lasted 2 years till 1983, from Basildon, Essex. Alison Moyet is the vocals, and Vince Clarke is synths. This song, I think, was actually written by Alison Moyet, but most of the time the songs are written by Vince. So the duo formed in 81 after Vince Clarke responded to an advert that Alison Moyet put in Melody Maker. She was asking for musicians to join a rootsy blues band. Now, although the pair attended the same Saturday music school, and when they were 11, and they also lived just a couple of miles apart, they didn't actually know each other. Vince Clarke had recently sort of shocked everyone by leaving a band that he helped form, and he wrote all of their hits for their first album, and that band is known as Depeche Mode.
Oh, wow.
He is the.
It's funny because I was going to cite Depeche Mode as one of the bands kind of from like of this genre that I actually do enjoy a lot of their music. So that's
their first three hit singles he wrote.
Okay.
And at the end of the first album, he shunned the limelight, didn't like the direction they were going, didn't like the fame, and he just left. Now, he then, well, shit, do I still have a record contract with Mute Records? So he thought, I've got to show him something. So he wrote a song called Only You, which became a massive hit, both here and I think it kind of translated to the States. The B-side was called Situation, and that became a huge hit in the States. So what he did was he wrote this, and then he only responded to the advert because he wanted a vocal track to go with it for something he could show the record label. And so they got together and they did this. First album was really successful, and he had a string of hits. And then tensions grew because he saw this as a one-off project, and she didn't, and he had to be shoehorned to go back into the studio to record the second album. And they kind of admit that because they got thrust together so quickly and they developed fame so quickly, they didn't get to know each other, so the communication was really poor. So they both had issues. He was very insular, was looking inward, so he buggered off and left her to do all the promo work. She had huge self-esteem issues with her weight and her looks. She was from a sort of punk background as well, and so she resented him for that. And they had, very separate musical tastes as well. And so they grew apart. This single got to number 3 in the charts, and what you saw in the video was part of their Top of the Pops appearance. And I think they split 2 or 3 weeks after this was shown. So really weird. But I mean, it was unique. I think of all the sort of synthy pop stuff, it was a unique combination of this synth pop, but with this sort of bluesy, soul-y vocals, which you didn't get with anyone else. And she's got an amazing voice. So they both went their own ways. He not only formed Depeche Mode and then this band, then went on to form another band called Eraser, which have been so successful. They're one of the biggest selling sort of synth bands from this country. They've sold 28 million albums, and they're still going to this day. He put another advert in Melody Maker and got a singer called Andy Bell, and they've been together ever since. He's done other stuff as well, but so many singles, Christmas number 1, stuff like that. And Alison Moyet went on to a solo career, and she's sold 23 million albums, and there's 6 top 10 UK singles. And both of them are still in those respective roles to this day.
Oh, well, at least they both found what they were, I suppose, looking for, or what they needed musically and professionally.
Yeah, I think this was just the vehicle, for the time.
Yeah.
But I think of all the pap that was around then and got into the charts, and it seemed like anyone who could use 2 fingers on a Yamaha got a record deal and got into the charts, or Casio.
Exactly.
This had a bit more soul to it, and I guess that's why I just really liked it. It's not a go-to song of mine, or one by any stretch of me to one of my favorites, but I thought this is interesting. This is back in the day, and I'd love to see Andy's face when he has to react to it. So that's why I picked it. And there will be some people. I mean, of the 8 people who watch this, there will be 1 or 2 of them that have fond memories of this time and this song.
Sure,
So,
of course.
To those 2 or 3 people, you're welcome.
Yeah, and please don't come at me. Yeah, I will say that, focusing in on her performance, because that's really where I was at. Aside from when there'd be some melodic stuff and funny little keys on the guitar, not only was her delivery pretty good, I mean, she's got a really good voice. It was a little, again, I'll say melodramatic for me, but she's clearly got a very good voice. The subject matter was also something that is pretty universal. I mean, we've all sort of been in that situation where we don't want to be just a memory or a forgotten part or semi-forgotten part, this hazy part of someone's history. So that kind of resonated with me, and I'd be like, you'd be hard pressed to not find that material relatable. So I thought the lyrics were pretty good, and again, accessible, and probably speak to a large group of people who have been in those shoes before.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly how old she was, but she'd have been really young when she wrote this. I'm guessing 19, 20, something like that.
Yeah.
Which so it's just quite mature writing for someone that age, the way she's done it, rather than, oh, woe is me, I want you back, blah, 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 So, yeah, cool. Do you want to take us out?
Sure. I'll take us out. Everybody out there and into the music world, please let us know what you thought of Yazoo or Nobody's Diary, this track by them. And as always, we appreciate you guys sharing, and subscribing if you're feeling so inclined. Feel free to jump in the comments and let us know what you think. All that being said, John, thank you, sir. Although I'm going to remember this one. And until next time, we'll see all y'all on the next episode of Into the Music.